This is Market Snapshot with Dan French from Nova Home Loans with the latest information about home loans in Las Vegas. Now, here's Dan French.
This one for them good girls, straight masterpieces. Stylin', wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with...
Welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French, your host with Nova Home Loans, your go-to loan expert here in Las Vegas. And I'm here today with my friend Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. How's your day going today, Chuck?
My day is going excellent. I'm about to rock this show. Let's get it going.
We also wanted to throw out a shout-out to our producer, Dougie. Doug, what's going on today, man?
Nothing much, sir. Just doing a good show.
You're doing an excellent job over there. Also wanted to just let everybody know out here that it's a pleasure and a privilege to educate the Las Vegas community with financing and real estate. You know that, Chuck?
Of course. That's why we're here on a Sunday when we could be actually at NASCAR. Guys, this is what we do 7 days a week, and we're going to really bring it to you today.
NASCAR's going on today?
Harvick's getting a run off turn 4. It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line.
What's going on over here, man?
I don't even know. Was that just a NASCAR that just went by?
Also, what else is going on in events here today? We got, I'll tell you what else is going on. We have Nevada housing market. Guess what, guys? We have some statistics from year ending last year on homes in foreclosure, and I wanted to go over that with you. And, you know, prices have gone up on average $20,000 every year for new home sales. And for existing sales, it's an average of $16,000. Did you know that, Chuck?
Of course. I'm the real estate guy. Why wouldn't I not know this?
You gave me the statistics, didn't you?
I did.
We also have a situation here with the foreclosures. The foreclosures, Nevada is ranked number 9 in foreclosure inventory, and we're 16th in foreclosure starts. Have you seen an increase in foreclosures?
Yes, the increase has gone up about 10% dramatically, and it looks like the notice of defaults here. We're currently for January about 840 notice of defaults. And what a notice of default is when somebody's late on their mortgage, then the lender will send out a letter to that person saying that, hey, you're 60 and 90 days late. Okay?
Wow. What's going on with the Rock of Rio over there?
With the Rock of Rio, that's very interesting. Well, MGM actually
what is it, though? Give me an idea.
Well, what that is, Rock of Rio is the world's largest musical festival. And this is going to actually be located on the north side of Las Vegas Strip. And it's right there in front of SLS. And it's on Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara. What's great about this event, it's going to drive about 300,000 people to this event. It's a 4-day event, and This is something that you guys got to really take a look at. And also, the Rock in Rio was actually created within 1985, and what it is, it's a culture phenomenon, was actually launched as a way to return joy and confidence in the people of Brazil at the end of the military revolution. And the crazy thing about this is since it started, 1.4 million people attended this event since then. And the crazy thing about this is more people attended this event than Woodstock.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
So we got to go.
It's funny because you got the Rock of Rio and you think it's not going to be at the MGM, it would be at the Rio. Wouldn't you think that? So here we go, guys. We're going to do here's the market rundown. And I want to...
The Market Rundown.
Today we're going to talk about the housing market statistics. I'm going to go into interest rate trending. I'm also going to tell you guys key points for underwriters. Chuck's going to talk about, is it beneficial to have solar panel? I'm going to also, both of us are going to speak about buying a second home and what's your options for purchasing a second home. And we're going to go to a new segment of the show. We're going to do this at the tail end. It's called the Lender versus Realtor Face-Off.
Does that mean we're going to fight?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a tough fight, but I don't think we're going to fight. But we'll definitely argue a little bit.
You are about 40 pounds heavier than I am, though. You do have that advantage. You know that, right?
Maybe just slightly.
All right.
So, guys, if you want a free mortgage assessment or if you have any questions regarding the show, call in studio today at 257-5396 or schedule an appointment at 781-NOVA. That's 6682. If you have a question, you could tweet me at 781-NOVA. And if you want to review my website and go and get some more information on my website, you can go to danfrenchnova.com. And, Chuck, we put together a series of educational videos. Explain that to our audience.
Well, it's called Take Notes, and what Take Notes is, but let me just start off by where you guys can find it. You can find it at simplyvegashomes.com, and within that navigation bar, just go ahead and scroll off to the right, it will say Take Notes. Go ahead and click on that. It's a library of educational videos regarding financing, buying homes, selling a home, and everybody that's in the real estate industry. So if you're a first-time home buyer or also an investor looking to get into the game, this is a good place to get started to answer your questions that you may have.
We're also going to give away a free appraisal.
Free appraisal?
And a free home inspection.
Free home inspection?
This is a mainstay on the show, and we're going to provide this to anybody that comes in and schedules a free 30-minute consultation with us. The next caller will get this. I also wanted to talk about, guys, we scheduled a ton of appointments last week. We had quite a few people come in and get information that we spoke about on the show last week. Please give us a call. You can schedule a free consultation at 781-NOVA. That's 6682. Chakits and myself will sit down with you. Chuck, what's going on with the housing market today?
Well, that's very exciting. It looks like we've dropped on the scale as far as homes that are currently on the market since last week. A lot of homes have been sold, around 400 homes, but we are still where we are last week. Nothing has really changed. But what I've seen here in today's market is the duplexes, triplexes, and the fourplexes have been on the market for a very long time, over 200 days.
Wow, that's a long time.
Now, as far as for the single-family residents, nothing has really moved, but as far as the rental sector, a lot of people are starting to rent out condos. So, guys, if you guys are out in the market today to look for a home for a primary residence, now's the time to take advantage. Also take advantage of the lowest rates as well. We'll get you in the home for sure.
Good. Also, I wanted to talk about interest rate trending and where rates ended up. And, guys, over the last 4 weeks, we've had interest rates go up, okay? This last week, we lost a lot of pricing, and I'm going to go over that with you. We lost about 1/4 of a point. So the beginning of last month, all the way up until now, or not last month, but the month of February, we've lost a full point in pricing, and I think that's a huge deal, especially if you're out there looking to refinance. One of the contributing factors of this is the inflation rose by 0.1%, as expected, but the biggest blow here came on Friday with the employment report. The employment report was supposed to come in at 5.6, but it came in at better than expected at 5.5. And again, guys, that contributed to rates spiking up again. And you got to look at the idea that cold winters and things that was in the U.S. could be a blame for a lot of this stuff. And the Fed just wants to see a little bit more data. But guys, overall, right now, rates are going up. If you have not exercised the idea of refinancing your home, if you're looking for a chance to purchase a home, now's the time to start looking, guys. I don't know how much longer it's going to be. I had a gentleman come in last week. He was very determined to get a rate in the high 3s, low 4s, and it's just not there anymore. And I can't really explain it to him, but I'm saying, look, you waited. And I told you, look, these rates are constantly going up. I have a show. I tell everybody on the show, this is going up, and it's going up every single week. You need to take advantage of this before it gets to a point where you can't take advantage of it. And guess what? He can't get a loan.
Well, let me ask you this. When a buyer's under contract, how do you determine when to lock into the interest rate? Do you follow that constantly, or does the buyer just call you and say, hey, what is it I want to lock in today? How does that work?
The difference between refinance and contract when you say purchasing a home, when you're purchasing a home, it's really whatever the market's offering at that time for pricing. So it's really kind of dependent on the client when they come in and they're like, hey, let's monitor rates, see where they're at. But you really don't have a choice, where if you have a refinance, you have a choice. You have a choice. Well, you did at least a month ago, because you can reduce your interest rate and you can reduce your payment. And as far as what's also going on in the market, and I discussed this also, is that HELOCs are ready to reset. And what that's going to do is when they reset, prices or their home payments going to go up, and I think these foreclosures that we see
will play
coming,
a big deal. And keep in mind that I think there was a total of 48,000 HELOCs, and it's coming to set around 2015, 2016. and they were saying that it's going to increase about $140 more a month. So, guys, now's the time to take a look to see if you guys really need to refinance because you can be saving a lot of money.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, going into what we also want to talk about is I want to talk about the key points of going in and meeting with the loan officer and choosing the loan officer you want to work with. And we've talked about this before, Chuck. I'm going to talk about it again just because I want everybody to understand what is the importance behind looking at your options and looking at who you're working with, because at the end of the day, it's going to be that person that's going to be getting you the loan, and hopefully it's a smooth transition. So what we have here is we have interest rates is the first thing you look at. Why is that important, guys? It's important because it dictates your payment, and ultimately it will show you what you're qualified for because your payment's involved in that. The other thing you look at is what is that company charging in fees? Is that company charging me miscellaneous things, credit application, fee, credit report fee? These things are just, sometimes people look at this and they're like, oh, it's just part of the loan. We don't do that at Nova Home Loans. So you might want to take a look at that and see what that company's charging you. It's always your option to go out there and look at that. Service. Okay, I'm a loan officer, and what my thing is that I really got to pride myself on helping clients from A to Z and giving them the information that's needed and really updating them every single week on that loan. And I think that's a huge part that really is overlooked. If you get a loan and you don't have somebody communicating that information with you, hey, you're going to be out of the loop. You're not going to know what's going on. And, at the end of the day, when you go into getting this loan done, you want to make sure that everybody's got your support. So
if you're a first-time home buyer out there and you meet with Dan, what is the main thing that you really need to look at? Is it really the interest rate, the APR, or is it really the fees? What are the how does that work as far as what do you look at first?
I think as I put that as a number basis, I think you need to blend that. I think you need to say, okay, look, let me go starting with the interest rate and then blend down, because I think every part of that is important. Every piece of that has its own purpose. And if you don't have that, you might want to look around. If you have somebody out there that's a loan officer that's not communicating with you, or somebody that's not giving you the service that you think is needed, I'd love to talk with you. You can give me a call, 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. We'll schedule a free consultation. I told you we have a free credit services department. And I'm telling you guys, we really put game plans together for people out there to get themselves in a loan. 6, 8, 12 months down the road, we will get you a loan.
Last week, we actually had a caller, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me that at this time, she spoke to a lender, but the lender told her that she wasn't ready to buy because she had to do some stuff. At that point, I knew that she needed to contact Dan, so that way Dan could take a look at her situation to see what's going on and diagnose it from there. I sent her over to Dan. Within about 48 hours, Dan sent me a letter of approval for a certain amount. She called me. She was so happy, and she was like, I can't believe this. I'm approved for a home loan, and this other lender told me that, hey, I had to wait to fix my credit. But Dan was able to open up her file and take a look and to see what we need to do to get the deal done. And now she's approved, and we're actually going to start going out this week, Tuesday, to start looking at homes.
Yeah, that's correct. And guys, I want to say one other thing. If you've been told no by your loan officer or a bank that you visited, and you want a second opinion, guys, I can help you. Let me get a shot at it, because I'm going to tell you, even if I can't get you approved, like I said, I will make it my goal to get you approved for a loan and get you in a position to buy a home. And I'm telling you, it works, guys. You just got to have the motivation, and you got to have the perseverance, really, of, hey, maybe my credit's not where it's at. Maybe things aren't in the place of where they need to be at this point. But I can tell you right now, I will get you there. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a set of keys from Chakits. I also want to go into the situation with, we're talking about what underwriters do. And I think one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because I had a client come in and they were really scared about underwriting and the process of underwriting. Have you ever dealt with a client that's like, oh my God, we're in underwriting, and this could really just make or break the deal? And have you had that experience?
Yeah, when I actually bought my first home, I was micromanaging everything.
Yeah.
And that lender was like, hey, you know what? Let me just deal with this. I got you, Chuck. Don't worry about it. But yeah, underwriting plays a big role. But remember, if your lender is good at what he does, and he does all the homework up front, there's nothing to worry about. But just make sure that when you're in the process of purchasing a home, you don't go out there and finance a new car.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And, we had a segment about the show about what not to do after loan approval. Hopefully you guys will listen to that. I want to talk about what people think the problem is with underwriting and what they're looking at. And I think what happens is people look at underwriting as really the most stressful part of the loan process. I think they go into it and they're like, you know what? I think we have this is our opportunity for us to fall out. This is our opportunity for things to come up where if we don't get the loan, this is where it's going to happen. And guys, the solution to that is Nova Home Loans and myself, we really put a good package together going into underwriting that will really expedite your file and cause less concern for you guys. I think if you do that, as a consumer and as a person out there buying a home, that you feel a little bit more comfortable with the situation. But the truth is if you have all your ducks in a row and your file is tightened up properly, there really should be no problems going into underwriting if your loan officer has put together a good package getting you there. And obviously at Nova Home Loans, we gather everything up front, conditions everything up front, and then by the time it gets to underwriting, it's really just, hey, they're just checking everything off and they're pretty much ready to go. Well,
let me ask you this. Can something come up within underwriting? Because it happens all the time as far as the appraisal or, certain conditions on the purchase side.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. Everything that goes into underwriting, there's always something that could come up. But the big red flags are usually crossed off by your loan officer up front. And when you get in there, it's really minor. It should be minor red flags that you got to have. Usually I get what's called a conditional approval by underwriting. And what they do is they give you certain conditions, but they're minor conditions about what you're going to have to get for us to get that loan approved and then off to docs.
And one of the things that I always see come up with underwriting is the appraisal process. It doesn't make the appraisal, or there's certain things that need to be done to the home as far as a VA or FHA. And that's why it's my job and my duty to make sure that once we start looking at homes, the type of homes that we look at,
right,
it is going to make the appraisal. And some certain guidelines may fly. So that's why before we even get into a contract, I negotiate all this up front. Knowing from the experience in doing multiple transactions, I know what to ask for, so that way we don't run into these issues. Because, guys, we don't want to tie up this property where you guys are putting down money of EMD. You guys already spent...
What's EMD?
Earnest money deposit.
And what is that for a client?
Basically, what earnest money deposit is where seller and buyer mutually agrees to a fully executed contract, and the buyer will put a certain amount of money down to tie up the property. Now, if the buyer breaches the contract, then the seller is entitled to keep that earnest money deposit, okay? But let me go back to what I was saying as far as things that you can lose is, the home inspection,
right?
The money for the appraisal.
Right.
So we want to avoid all that all up front.
Correct.
So we want to do all our homework all up front before we even get you in the contract, even get you, all the way to that far. Do you see what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm going to tell you right now too. What other things we need to do is I put together a list of things that what underwriters really look at, and there's 3 of them. I call them the 3 C's. It's capacity, credit, and collateral. And I'm going to go into each one of those segments. But what it means is that capacity is, do you have the resources and the means to pay off your debts? What that means is, can the borrower repay the mortgage? And I think that's the biggest thing that underwriters look at. They determine this by really reviewing the employment of the borrower. They review the income, the debt, the assets, and the overall picture of that borrower. They also look at the fact of what is in your savings, checking, and your IRA accounts, and they want to see that for assets. So those 2 things are really important that they look at. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to be looking at all facets, but this is a good bullet point, so when it does go into underwriting, if you're my clients out there and you know that we're in underwriting or we're about to go into underwriting, this is what you're looking for. The other thing is credit. Do you have a solid repayment and credit history? Now, that is a huge indication of what your character is. And I think character is a big thing. Credit doesn't make you as a person, but if you go in an underwriter and you're trying to obtain a loan, it does show a little bit of your character about what they're going to give you or approve you for or not. So your credit is perhaps one of the most important factors in the loan process, because what it will do is it will reflect how you handled and managed paying off your past bills, your car loans, your car payment, home equity line of credit. It also will predict your ability to really repay that loan. And I think when you get into that process, that's another huge element, because they're really blending, like I've said, all these factors into giving you this loan. The third thing is collateral. And what that is what is the value of and type of property that's being financed, okay? An underwriter wants to make sure your loan does not exceed property value, okay? Otherwise, a lender really may not be able to recover the loan's unpaid balance, and in case maybe default, and that's something that really no bank wants to hear is default, or no underwriter wants to even be put in a position to have the idea that client or that borrower is going to default. And this is why underwriters order home appraisals, guys. And Chuck just touched on this. Home appraisals are important because it's really one of the biggest contributions of getting this loan through underwriting.
Now, as far as purchasing a home, is it easier to get a second home or a first home through underwriting?
It's always easier to get a first home because what happens is it all goes back to risk, okay, risk assessment. And if you're looking at the underwriter part of it, is it more risky to get a second home or investment home, something that's not a primary residence? Because guess what? If you guys are going to leave and you buy a second home, investment home, what's the first property that they're going to leave?
True. So let me ask you these. Based upon these 3 C's that the underwriter looks at, what happens if I have an FHA loan or a conventional? What are the things that they look at on that perspective?
Well, if you look at an FHA loan, again, some of these things are a little bit more lenient, and that's why FHA is there. You got a little bit less on down payment, a little bit more leniency on your credit rating. But also, you have to look at the fact that if you're somebody that's a conventional loan and it goes into underwriting, you're a little bit stronger of a borrower, so it's going to be a little bit easier to approve.
Okay.
So in addition, underwriters will also review the type of property which you wish to purchase. Why is this? Well, homes that have carried some risks for lenders in the past, they've considered investment properties, just like I said, second homes. They're more riskier than a home owner-occupied home, and they're a little bit more. It's a little bit easier for underwriters just to say, okay, we're going to check off on you buying a primary residence versus us investing more money into a second home or an investment home. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, those options are still there for second and investment homes. So I'm not saying we're deterring you from actually looking at the fact of buying a second or investment home, but they are looked at a little bit more thorough, and you really got to have, like I said, all of your ducks in a row when it comes to buying a second or investment home compared to a primary residence. So really, I mean, that's all of it in a nutshell as far as what underwriters look at. The best thing to do, though, is always follow a good loan officer, their lead in going in and saying, okay, what do I need? What is it that they need from me up front? Because like I said, everything up front that we get is going to do nothing but be proactive going into underwriting and getting that loan closed.
Let me ask you this: from your experience, when the buyers come in, do they review everything to you, or do you get like sometimes the buyer doesn't tell you that, hey, I have an extra bank account that has $10,000?
Yeah, that happens a lot, guys. And you know what? It's my job too to say, hey, do you guys have any other properties that I don't know about? Do you guys have anything that I don't know about? Maybe being a co-buyer or co-signer for somebody, maybe just not showing up on your credit. Things like that are important because guess what? That's going to add to your debt ratio, and guess what? That might even put you in a position where you're not going to be able to buy a home because now you're not telling me things that's on your credit, maybe it's things that you own, and now we have to add a little bit more debt to your overall picture. So, Chuck, let's go right into talking about solar panels, and I know this is something you wanted to touch on. What's going on with that?
Well, the reason why I wanted to touch bases with this because this is a whole new thing that's coming out in the marketplace, and every year it's gone up about 40% each year. And now since 2010, I was reading online, it says solar panels had actually increased by 700%. And the reason why this is so important, I wanted to bring this up, is because I had a client that we just closed on probably about 3 weeks ago. He called me up and he said, hey, what do I need to get to get a solar panel?
Right.
So he got referred to a company, they got the process going, and I talked to him and I found out that these solar panels will run you anywhere from $25,000 and up. Mm-hmm. So it kind of raised a red flag as far as, okay, if you're buying a solar panel, is it even worth it to buy it? Because we know here in Nevada is such a trendy city.
Right.
People move every 5 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. And that, that's going to affect the value of the property as far as not going down, but as far as meeting the appraisal. And is a buyer going to want those items on their property?
Chuck, I got a Twitter question coming in from Perla. I wanted to ask, is there real value in buying solar panels, and can this be negotiated buying a home that does not have solar panels?
Well, here's the thing. Everything is negotiated on the contract, but keep in mind, if you're a FHA or conventional buyer, you're going to have to watch out to make sure that this property appraises at a certain price. And if the seller wants additional $15,000 more because they have solar panels, then you may have to do a bill of sale, and possibly you can see if you can transfer it. If not, then the seller has to take it off. And that's why this is so important. But as far as is it worth it, I'm going to just give you a case study. At $100 a month that you're actually saving,
mm-hmm.
That's $1,200 a year.
Right.
I mean, when you finance this thing, it's going to take you about 21 years just to get your money back.
21 years?
Just 21 years.
I mean, is that something that you really look at? I mean, as far as maybe value? I mean, 21 years is a long time. I mean,
well, again, if you're going to stay at that home for 21 years, then it makes sense. Like, hey, if I'm moving back to Hilo, Hawaii, and I'm going to go build me a shack and I want to live off the grid, I'm doing it.
Right.
It's worth it.
Let me say this. What is the average span, though, that somebody lives or stays in a home?
About 5 to 7 years, guys.
Right. So, I mean, if it's really somebody that really thinks about staying in that home for a long period of time, because most of these people out here in Vegas, they're gone after 5-7 years, correct?
Exactly. Also, there is a government rebate on this, about $6,000 to $7,000 that I read online too as well. But one of the factors that I ran across is with the HOAs. Are your HOAs going to allow you to put this on here? So, guys, if this is something that you guys are thinking about purchasing, make sure the home that you're purchasing, if it has an HOA, get with that HOA board first just to make sure that you can actually put those panels on there. Okay. And this could be an issue in the long run, so keep this in mind, guys.
You have anything else to say? Because I'm going to tell you about the financing side of it. Really, I would like to sit down with you guys on a one-on-one basis if you're ever considering putting solar panels in, because there is a lot to it. There's a lot of guidelines that I have to go over with you, and it's something that I don't really want to say on this show, but again, we can schedule a free consultation for Chakits or myself at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA, and we would love to talk to you guys about maybe just giving the idea. It's not going to be out there for everybody, but at least it's an option, and we're trying to give you guys this option. I also wanted to tell you guys that we're going to talk about second homes and second home purchasing options. And Chuck, I know you have clients out there, second home investment. We talk a lot about the investors, but we really don't talk about the people that are buying a second home.
That's correct.
Person that's coming in from California, hey, I want a Vegas home because I want to be here. And
we get that a lot, don't we?
Oh, man. Yeah, I want to buy a house here in Vegas, and, I want to take advantage of Vegas. And, so it's great because second homes really give you that opportunity. It's more of like a vacation home too, correct?
Yeah, but what's the amazing part about it is a lot of people buy these second homes and they never rent the second homes out.
Well, here's the deal on that. I'm going to tell you why you can't rent that out. If you buy a second home, you're really getting a discount, or not a discount, but leniency on what your credit, or not your credit rating, but what the amount of down payment will be. Okay, and that's a huge deal because if you're trying to become an investor and you're saying that you're going to use that as an investment property. Well, you can't do that. You have to wait a minimum of 12 months before you can even consider using a second home as an investment property.
So would it be cheaper just to go in and talk to your lender and say, hey, I want to buy this as an investment property, or this is going to be a vacation home? What would be better?
I think if you're an investor, you really got to follow the guidelines as being an investor, because, when you start to try to say, well, I'm going to go buy a second home, and then who's to say what could happen, But if you go into it and you say, I'm going to buy a second home, guys, we're going to cut the break. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk more about second home purchasing options. It's Dan French with Nova Home Loans. Welcome back to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French here with Nova Home Loans, and I'm here today with my friend Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. What's going on, Chuck? You're a little bit, you got your tongue twisted over here?
You know what? I love every second about this. I'm ready to get the second half going. Let's get it going, guys.
All right, guys, let's jump right back into second home purchasing options, okay? If you're a person out there that's looking to invest into a second home, this is the segment for you, okay? I think the biggest problem that most people have when they're purchasing a second home is, they think it's too expensive. There is some restrictions. I'm going to go on detail about that on buying a second home. What banks have done, though, and we talked about this a little bit before we went to break, they give a little bit more incentive on providing less for down payment. And it's really something you can really purchase and have value, because you can come here to Vegas, or you can come anywhere you're going as far as a second home, anywhere outside of a 70-mile radius. You can purchase a second home and really use it as a vacation home or a second home.
You're talking about putting down, like, what's the least amount we could put down?
10% right now.
10%?
It's pretty low too for second home. I mean, investment properties are looking about 20%. I do give options too for 25, but it's 20% minimum. So that's a huge difference in the amount of down payment requirement for a bank that would offer.
Okay, so really quickly, if you bought a second home at 10% down, how long before were the owner of the property going to say, hey, you know what? I don't go there that often. Can I change this over into an investment property? As far as when can I start renting it out?
Yeah, it's 12 months, guys, and it's just because it's an investor guideline, because investors don't just want to hand a loan to you and then say, okay, now you can flip it to an investment property and start making rent. Or not rent, but collecting the rent. So,
and the reason why I bring this up because things happen in life.
Correct.
So, guys, if you guys are tuning in, I don't want you guys to take advantage by going out to do something like that. This is just for certain case scenarios out there that if something like that happens. So.
Yeah, the truth about second home financing is really it's easier than people think, because when you get into it, it's really like qualifying for a primary residence, except for you have a little bit of adjustment on rate and a little bit more risk that comes into play, because obviously it's your second property you're purchasing, maybe sometimes third or fourth, depending on how many you have. But it's another property that everybody's got to take an assessment of what the risk is. But guess what, guys? 10% down, you can have another home in another location 70 miles out of the radius of where you currently live, and you can vacation and stay there. I mean, Vegas, California is like huge for this, because Californians come in here, they buy a second home, and they want to take advantage of Las Vegas. But you know what? They love the weather. They love the beach. They want to go back to California at some point. They just want to be here to say, look, I'm here for New Year's, or I'm here for some special event, boxing event, the Pacquiao, and they might, you know what I mean? Something like that. I hear you. So that's what that second home is here for. It's here for people for vacationing. And second, I had a lady that asked me one time, it was kind of funny. She lives here, and she's like, hey, I want to buy a second home at Lake Las Vegas. And I go, where do you live? She goes, Summerlin. And I said, that's not going to happen. She's like, well, why not? I go, you can't buy a second home in a location of where you live. That's just not going to happen. I go, if you want to buy a second home, you're going to have to go outside of that 70-mile radius, like I've been telling you, and then you can buy it. Now, obviously, Lake Las Vegas is something a little bit too close. So if you guys are out there thinking, yeah, we can buy a second home and then, vacation to Mount Charleston, that's always a concern as well. It's pretty close. So it's really a case-by-case situation, but more often than not, if it's that close, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
If you also have investment properties and you're trying to buy a second home, let's say you have investment properties in Vegas and you're trying to buy a second home, that could also be a concern, because who's to say that you don't try to rent that property out if you already have investment properties here in Las Vegas?
Now, as far as like the debt to income ratio, how does that work?
Well, the debt ratio obviously is a blend. You have to qualify for both mortgages. You have to qualify with all of your debt. And really, all the taxes, insurance, everything that's included on your current payment, you have to qualify for that second home payment as well. And real quick, Chuck, I have a Twitter question coming in from Carol. The question is, I'm going to purchase a second home and then rent it out for 2 months. Second homes cannot be converted into investment property. So she's asking me, if I want to buy a second home, can I rent it out after 2 months? And what is your process of actually purchasing or getting somebody to purchase a second home?
Well, basically what we do is we sit down with the client, and number one, education is key. Second thing is communication, and explain to them what's going on what's going on within the marketplace. So that way, once we start going out and we start looking at properties, we're actually submitting the right offers on the properties. Because here's the thing, when you buy a second home, typically these second home owners, every 5 to 7 years, they're probably going to end up selling it. So we want to make sure that we're just not getting them into anything, because when the time comes to sell, they're going to make some money. Not only that has to cover the agent fees too as well.
So, Carol, if you're out there listening and you heard Chakits on radio today, please get a free consultation with him at 781-NOVA. That's 6682 781-NOVA. And, Chuck, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
Lender versus Realtor face-off. Are you ready for this, man?
I'm actually scared.
Let's go ahead and get this started. This is what we talked about. This is our new segment of the show. We're going to make this a mainstay of the show. And I want to talk to you about it because, Chuck, I got some questions that have always kind of been sitting out there. And I've never really come to you and say, hey, Chuck, what is your take on this? We do this show, but we don't really talk about this stuff outside of the show. So my question to you is, where do you benefit more, buying a new home or buying an existing home?
If you're buying it as an investment property, you're definitely going to want to buy a secondhand home because the value is there, okay? Now, if you buy a new home, keep in mind, guys, it's like buying a new car. Once you buy this car, you drive it off the lot, it loses 20 to 30%, the value. So, guys, make sure when you guys go out and buy a home, it really depends on the situation that you're currently in. Is this something that you're going to buy and stay in forever? And this is so, so important. And that's why if you get with the right agent, we can educate you as far as what's going on, and we can start pointing you guys in the right direction, guys.
So I also wanted to ask you, you have any questions for me, by the way?
Of course. I have tons of questions for you. Hey, really quickly, check this out. I had a client that came in about 3 days ago, and she was telling me her credit score wasn't that great.
All right.
And I explained to her certain banks or certain lenders have certain guidelines as far as what the credit scores need to be. Why is that?
Well, credit rating, again, is assesses that character of that person. Okay. Have they been responsible? Have they been paying their bills? Mm-hmm. And you got to really look at the opportunities that a bank has to offer, like Nova Home Loans, because we can go as low as a 580 credit score on manual underwrite, and I can go as low as a 600 credit score on just a normal purchase FHA loan.
So, I mean, how come you can do that in certain banks is higher? Like, how does that work?
There's a lot to it, but it's the investor, as us as an investor, it's the liability part of it, and it's also it's really what our options are when we have what's called a bank option for offering people leniency on getting into a loan. So it's really not every company can offer that. There is some restrictions to it. There is some compensating factors that you have to hit with that 600 credit score. But I'll tell you right now, I'm closing them now. I have people that are getting approved for 600 credit scores and up with a normal FHA loan, and it's happening now.
So that's the lowest, right? 600?
That is the lowest.
Okay. Now, guys, keep in mind, a lot of people, when they're in that situation, we can always ask for closing costs too as well. Let's just say your credit score is this low. You finally get a home loan if it's FHA or conventional, but you guys don't have the money for the closing costs. Remember, we can negotiate that today in today's market. So keep that in mind. That's very important. So you guys can actually literally get in a home with less or no money down at this point.
I have a question for you here, Chakits. My question is how many days on average does it take you to get a contract accepted? And real quick, what is the average you think for a real estate agent off your perspective, and how long does it take for you?
It should be less than about 45 days or sooner to get under contract, but it really depends within your marketplace. Out here in Las Vegas, keep in mind, we have a lot of properties that are currently overpriced, and what you'll tend to find out is in a lot of neighborhoods, you have 16 to 20 properties that are way overpriced. The ones that are priced correctly will move fast. So that's why it's so important to get with the right agent, to get educated and learn how to submit the offer the proper way and look at the right home, so that way we're not wasting any time. Typically, it takes us anywhere from 15 to 20 days. We probably average looking at about anywhere from 5 houses, and we'll definitely get you in the home. The purchase price plays a big difference. If you're a buyer that's purchasing around $200,000, there's going to be a little bit challenging there because the marketplace is around that purchase price at this time. So you're going to have to be submitting a lot of offers, and you're going to have to be looking at a lot of homes because the average household income in the state of Nevada is $57,000. But if we're looking at homes around the $500,000 to $1 million, you're going to have a little bit more of options. Not only that, you're gonna have some options as far as asking for closing costs and certain items, and also negotiating the price too as well.
Guys, if you have any questions regarding the show, you can always reach us at 702-257-5396. Again, it's Dan French, 257-5396. It's the Market Snapshot.
I got a question for you. Okay, let me ask you this. We're talking about second homes. How many second homes can you actually buy?
Well, again, a second home is really just a second home, but you can really buy multiple second homes, guys, because look, let's say, like we talked about, the California person out here buying one in Nevada, you can buy another second home, but you know what? What if you wanted to buy a second home in Texas or Florida or New York? You can do that as well.
Wouldn't that consider be a third home?
Well, yes, but I think if you look at the term second home, it's really a second home vacation. We'll call it vacation home.
Okay. So how many vacations homes can you actually buy total?
You can buy, like I said, you can buy as many as you want so long as it's outside. Now, listen, if you guys are buying a second home and you already have multiple properties in a certain location like Las Vegas, New York, Florida, that's going to be a concern for investors because guess what? When you have that, they're going to think, well, why would you not convert that into an investment home since you're already renting out 2, 3, 4 properties? That's definitely a concern. So I also wanted to ask, I got another question for you here, Chuck.
Go ahead.
All right. What are the what are the zip codes that are appreciating in Las Vegas right now? Where is the hot points, I guess you can say, for appreciation in Las Vegas?
I'm going to make this very simple and quickly for you. Zip code 89118. And I think the reason why it's progressing so rapidly is because of the shopping centers, schools, and the malls. And this is out in the southwest side where I think it's 215 and Rainbow. So that place is popping off. But please keep in mind, there's a lot of new home developments going along over there. And if you're going to buy a home, if you're not going to stay there within the 5 to 7 years and you're going to sell it, I don't want to say I want to steer you away, but that's something to really consider. Okay.
So that's the most appreciation. Let me ask you this question.
ahead.
Let's say if you're a client out there and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm listening to the show, but I want to ask you, hey, where can I go on my own to get this? Is there somewhere they can go as a consumer out there that can go get and find out how much their home is appreciating here?
Yeah, they can contact us at any time, and at that point, we'll go ahead and schedule an appointment, and we'll get you the information.
But there's nowhere on their own that they can go and. I mean, if they looked at it online somewhere, what would there be like a website or something, or is it just something that you have accessibility to?
You can go to simplyvegashomes.com. On the navigation bar, just go ahead and click market statistics. Once you click on the market statistics, what happens is you go ahead and punch in the zip code that you are looking to purchase, and it will give you the rundown as far as what's going on as economics, the median home price, schools, and all that good stuff. So that's a good place to start, simplyvegashomes.com.
Guys, we have a caller, Ingrid, who's called into the show. I'm going to jump over to Ingrid.
Hi.
Ingrid, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. How's your Sunday?
It's good. I'm just relaxing.
Good. I'm assuming you're listening to the show. Did you have a question?
Yes. Yeah. Well, a while back I was told that I wasn't approved for a home loan.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I'm listening, you're saying that you can help me setting up a plan on how to
get back into a home.
Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to talk to you about that. Here's what Nova Home Loans and myself does. What we do is we really sit down with you for about 30 minutes. We look at your overall credit, what assets you have, stability of employment and income, and then we really assess, what is going to happen from that point. Now, everybody has a different goal. Your goal might be, hey, I might want to get back in or want to try to get into a home. Maybe you're in a lease and you want to get into a home 2 or 3 months from now. Well, we can really kind of start that game plan together, and if your credit needs a little bit of help, or maybe it doesn't, maybe you just want to save a little bit of money, and I give you a target amount of how much you need to save, we really put you in a position to do that, and then 3 months down the road, you're going to be in a spot to really buy a house. You're going to have some options, and that's what we do here at Nova Home Loans. We really provide that to everybody I sit down with. Do you have any, are you in a position right now where you're considering buying? Have you talked to a loan officer?
Yeah, I have. I'm trying to get into a home.
Yeah. Well, listen, here's the best way to do this, Ingrid. You can give me a call outside studio. You can reach me at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. You can schedule a free consultation with us, and we'll sit down, we'll get a game plan together, and we'll find out, see how we can help you.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
Thanks for calling in, Ingrid. Have a great day.
The amazing part about this is that what I've noticed is when buyers come in and they speak to us, they tell us they're currently working with a lender and they just found out they're not approved. Here's the thing, guys. I want to tell you guys right now, not all lenders are the same. There are other lenders that are very aggressive than others, and that's why I always send them to Dan to look at their financials and figure out what's going on. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, this guy can get you a loan, okay? You may not get a loan today, but he can structure you guys in the right way to get a loan. So it's a guarantee you'll get a loan. But remember, once that ball is in your court, you got to make it happen. The nice thing about this guy is that he will hold you accountable, okay? Mm-hmm. So if you want a home, this is the guy to go to. We got another call coming in. Her name is Norma. Norma, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Norma, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. I just wanted to thank you for calling in for the Market Snapshot. How can I help you?
I was calling in regards to the solar panel installation.
Chuck, can you handle that?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead. What's your question?
Well, I own a house here in North Las Vegas, and I just wanted to know, how cost-effective it is.
Well, it really depends. This is what you need to do. Are you looking to purchase one? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm interested. I just wanted more information regarding.
One of the first things that you need to do is if you are located in a home that has an HOA community, contact your HOA first to see if you can even put that on your home. Okay. The second thing that you need to do is there's a lot of companies out here that you can go through and shop around, and they can break it down as far as how much you are spending a month and how much you are actually saving a month. Also, what I want you to do is get with the local county, and they actually have programs out there as far as for rebates. But this is all going to determine on the size of your home and how many panels you have to put in. Now, once you get all that information, you need to break it down as far as how long you are going to be in this home to see if it's even worthwhile. Okay?
Right.
And the next thing that you want to do is to see what is your home actually worth? Because if you're already underwater on your home or you're already broken even and you're going to go ahead and put this in, this may not work for you. So these are the items that you really need to factor in and, just break it down and do the math. And that's where I would start. After the show, just contact us and we'll get you in the right direction.
Yeah, if you want to contact Chakits for a free consultation, guys, 781-6682, that's 781-NOVA. Norma, thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Guys, we're going to go right on to the next segment of this. You had one more question you wanted to ask me. What was that last question?
Are you looking at your notes?
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. But you were writing some stuff down over there.
I know. Hey, really quickly, check this out, man. I want to talk about points, okay?
Yeah.
Because when I got my first property, I actually bought down points, and I actually made a mistake when my wife was like, "Don't buy down points." And to me, it was more of an ego trip. I went from 5% and I bought down to 3.5%, I think, at that time, and it wasn't even worth it.
Yeah.
So
most of the time it's not, and I'll tell you about points. Points is really something that makes sense if you're going to stay in a home for a long period of time. More often than not, you got to look at how many years it's going to take for you. The money that you invested in buying down that point, how long is it going to take before you start to see a value or you start to see a profit from that? And normally it takes, in most cases, 5+ years. And what did we talk about before? 5 to 7 years,
Correct.
People are out of their home. I don't think it makes sense in most cases.
So let me ask you this. How does a consumer determine what are the points? Like, how much does it cost?
Well, they sit down with me, and everybody's different. Everybody's overall picture is different.
Okay.
I would have to look and see what their pricing is and what their options are. And again, pricing changes every single day, guys. I talk about how volatile rates and pricing has been. It's really dependent on what that client has, what their credit rating is, and what type of home or what type of situation that they're in. Overall debt. There's a lot of factors to this.
So basically, the way the rates are right now, it's probably not even worth it to buy down points.
Well, I mean, sometimes, but most of the time, I'm going to say 90% of the time, no. I don't think it is. I mean, like I said, you got to see the value in it. As a business person, what is the return on my dollar? The return on your dollar is not there for 7 or 8 years.
You know what? I should have listened to my wife.
We got another call here, guys. Adriana, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So you had a question?
Yeah. I heard you guys were giving your free appraisals on the show, and I've been trying to get in a new home for a while now. How could I take advantage of that?
Well, I'm glad you're listening to the show, and I'll tell you exactly how you can do it. First off, yes, we're giving a free appraisal and a free home inspection to anybody that gets a loan through the show or gets qualified and actually gets a loan through me and gets a home through Chakits. You can take this number down. It's 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. Schedule a free consultation with me. Once we get you approved and we get you in a position, I'm going to send you over to Chakits and you guys can start looking for a home. And guess what? That free appraisal will be attached to you, and Chakits has got that free inspection waiting as well.
Oh, awesome. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
I haven't had that kind of help lately.
Yeah, thank you for calling in, and please, give us a call outside studio, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adriana.
Bye.
Damn, we're getting a lot of calls today, huh?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
We're popping it off.
Also, I wanted to tell you guys what sets me apart from my competitors, and I'm going to tell you right now what sets us apart, okay? We have at Nova Home Loans, this isn't very important. We have in-house underwriting and funding, okay? That's a huge deal. It gives me control over the file. If you want me to meet or beat the close of escrow, I have to have that in-house because I can control that. The other thing is we have status online progress updates. I told you how big service is. You're getting a checklist every single time an event occurs from me. Not only that, I'm going to give you that checklist by email. I'm also going to give you a Tuesday status call. Seller agent, buyer agent, you yourself as a client, everybody's getting statused, all right? We're also a free in-house credit services, and I tell you guys how important this is. If your credit is not where it needs to be, we will get you there. We will help you get there. The other thing I wanted to tell you is we're a 7-day-a-week service. I'm always working, guys. If you have a question, if you need to get a hold of me, if you're a client of mine or somebody out there that just needs to get some information on financing or loans, call me anytime, okay? You can reach us at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. And through this show, we just had Adriana ask us about an appraisal, and I wanted to emphasize this one more time. What we offer that's free through this show only, okay? What we offer free is a CMA. Chuck, what is a CMA?
CMA stands for Comparable Market Analysis. When a buyer is looking to buy a home or looking to sell a home, we want to show what that property is worth. Keep in mind, this is very important when you're buying a home because, once we go out, we look at a home, you see a home that's, it says it's listed for $300,000 and it's only really worth $250,000, and we pull up the comps and we know it's at $250,000. Now we know that we need to submit an offer at $250,000 because it makes no sense of submitting an offer at $300,000, getting it accepted, tying it up into escrow. You spend the money on the inspection, you spend the money on the appraisal, knowing that this deal can't get done. And only a professional would know something like this, and that's why you need to contact us.
That's correct. And here's the other thing, guys. We have a free appraisal. I'm going to provide a free appraisal, and that's huge, guys. My appraisals run $425 to $550. Take advantage of this. We also have a free home inspection. Chuck, what is that? Give me the things that's involved in a home inspection.
On a home inspection is a third-party company. The buyer has a right to use anybody that they choose to. But for a home inspection, they cover 5 main components to a home: the foundation, structure, electric, plumbing, and the AC unit. Anything that is latent defects, they can't tell you, but that is very important, guys, and that's free. And that could run you anywhere from $250 all the way up to $1,000.
We're also going to give away a free home buyer guide. Chuck, what is that?
Free home buyer's guide. That's a booklet on A to Z on actually how to buy a home and get you started on the right track. Also, visit simplyvegashomes.com. Scroll down to the navigation bar, take notes, and start from there. It's a library of educational videos of all the questions that you may have, guys.
Also, I'm going to give away that free lunch for 2 to Sammy's Pizza. I told you we give this every week. We're going to give this away, and Ingrid was the first caller. The first caller is going to get this. We're going to have this scheduled. I got my producer wrote this down. So, guys, again, take advantage of the free things that we have to offer here, because I'm telling you, you're not going to get this at other places. You're not going to get this. This is all pertaining to this show, and we're giving a lot of things free. If you guys want a free mortgage assessment, or you have a question on your current loan, maybe, like I said, you've been told no. Maybe there's a situation where you've been put in a place where you feel like you don't have any help. Give us a call. Call me. You can call us in studio again at 257-5396, or you can reach me outside studio at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. And Chuck, real quick, we ask this every week. What do you think about, is it a good time to buy? Is it a buyer's market, seller's market? I just want to end this. I mean, where are we at with this?
It's right down the middle. Again, guys, if you guys want to go out and buy, now's a good time because money's cheap to
Certain
borrow.
locations are better as a buyer's market, and certain locations are better for sellers. Is that correct?
And to a certain extent, yes. Because here's the thing. If you guys are interested in buying, it doesn't really matter where you buy because, the interest rates are so cheap and so low. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is going to be your primary residence. If you guys want to get in, we can get you in. Now, as far as the selling market, it is a seller's market, but you got to price it correctly. If you overprice it, then you're not going to get your offer down and deal, into contract. So, guys, it's very important to work with an agent that understands the market, so that way we can point you in the right direction. That we are not wasting any time here, guys, and that's very important.
Yeah, I want to say one other thing, guys. Again, rates have been increasing over the last 4 weeks. Okay, there's no indication that they're going to go the other direction at this point. If you haven't taken advantage of looking to see if you have a chance to refinance your home, if you're in a position where you want to try to get approved and purchase a home, now's the time to do it. You want to take advantage of where rates are at. Right now we're in the low 4s. We're going to be going, the other direction. We're starting to head into the 5s, guys. Thanks again for listening to our show. I just want to say it's Dan French with Nova Home Loans. I'm here with Chakits from Simply Vegas. And we just want to say we'll be back here next week from 12 to 1. And thank you for your listenership.